I wasn't necessarily planning on doing a review of this game because it came out, I didn't have a review copy before launch, so I wasn't able to get my review ready for the embargo lifting. It's also a very busy time of year. There's a lot of games coming out. This has been an incredible year for games, and as a result, I'm just pretty busy. But I started playing through Spider-Man 2, and I have to say, this is one of my favorite games of all time now. It is an absolute masterpiece, and I think it would be criminal for me to have actually played through it, done an entire playthrough, which you can watch, by the way, if you want to. It's linked in the description. I've got all the parts up already, so it's all there ready to go. But it would be criminal for me to have done all that and not to actually take the time to tell you guys just what a phenomenal product I think this is. And this comes in the wake of seeing so many tweets saying things, for example, like Spider-Man 2 is full of game-breaking bugs. It's not a finished product. It shouldn't have been launched. It was rushed out for Christmas, and because PS5 didn't have a first-party exclusive this year, and so, like, they've just sort of rushed out the door to sort of save face, I suppose. I've seen people saying that stuff. I've seen other people saying, if I go up to a building here, like maybe this building would be a good example, let's climb on the side of it and look through some of the windows. So you might be able to see an NPC in here, like there's a person looking in the cabinets, right? If I keep crawling around, there's people at a desk, I might be able to find a copy of the person at the cabinet. I mean, it's proving a little tricky, to be honest, but somewhere here, if I crawl for long enough, there you go. There's the person looking at the cabinets. Oh no. Does that mean that the game is lazy? I've seen other people saying if I find a subway entrance, I'm just going to sort of have a little look around here for an entrance to a subway. Here we go. Here's one. So if I go over to the subway entrance, as you can see, it's got stairs going down to it, but when I go down here, the game automatically turns me around. I didn't do that, so I'm just holding forwards, and boom, just loops you back out. And so people have said, oh, the fact that you can't go in there and use the subway in New York, like, the game's incomplete. It just doesn't feel like an open world New York. Similarly, there's these taxi cabs here, but I can't hail them. I can't do anything with the taxi cabs. They're just hanging out. They're just there. Let me try and get on this taxi. You, sir. There we go. I can ride it this way, but I certainly can't get inside. So this review is coming in the wake of seeing a lot of those sorts of comments online. And I've just got to say, I think that it's insanity, to be honest. I think that so many of these nitpicks that people have with the game are things that are not really relevant to the experience whatsoever. Like, as a Spider-Man fan, why exactly would I want to ride the subway as Spider-Man? Like, that doesn't feel very Spider-Man. Maybe if I was Batman, maybe then I'd be slightly more like, well, okay, yeah, in the new Batman, there was that scene where he's in the subway and like, yeah, maybe they could sort of get away with that kind of justification. But even then, I mean, I think it's a stretch. And with Spidey, like, this is what I need. I need to be able to swing around the city with a little spider cat in my back here. Like, the cat's having a great time. So am I. And just be free. And to be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to climb a wall. I'm going to swing over the wall. I'm going to catapult myself. I'm going to do some kind of cool web trick here to boost myself up because I'm Miles Morales and I'm cool like that. Do a little dive, get some momentum, run up a building. Like, these are all things that I want to do as Spider-Man, and I'm able to do them. And for that reason, I think the game is a 10 out of 10. I think it's absolutely glorious. I think that there are small things that could be improved. Like, for example, just opening that crate just then, you might have noticed I kind of had to jiggle the camera into the right place. That could be improved. The way that those kind of get opened up could be improved. But it's just not deep. And it doesn't impact my enjoyment of the game in any way. So let me run through a couple of different kind of criteria here of why I think the game is phenomenal and why I really think, even if you're not really a superhero fan, I think that this is worth a pick up and just worth a look for you. And by the way, this is not a sponsored video. This is just me genuinely being enamored with this game and wanting it to succeed because I want more video games like this to be made, period. So first of all, let's talk about the movement. I think that the movement in this game is perfect. I think that it is genuinely perfect Spidey movement. I don't think there's anything really that they could have done to make it better in terms of the web swinging, in terms of the city exploration, flipping around. It feels fantastic. I mean, I'm hitting grabs in the air. Like, bro, it's just so good. They've also got a bunch of new stuff in this game that hasn't been in previous games. Oh, that was cool, which I also really appreciate. So, for example, I don't believe, I could be wrong about this, but I don't believe in previous games, if I go up this building here, I don't believe you could do this before, where you can anchor yourself to something and then get a massive amount of momentum really quickly and launch yourself in that way. Nor could you do this. This new gliding is sick. It's not something I do all the time by any means. You don't have to do it all the time. I know some people are like concerned, oh, it's not very Spider-Man, right? But it doesn't matter. It still feels really damn good. It doesn't get in the way. It only adds, basically. It doesn't detract in any capacity. The combat, I think, feels really good as well. There's certain things in the combat that I think could be improved, very, very minor improvements. So for instance, right now, I'm in a fight and I'm going to wait here. And there you go. You see that went red just then? Oh, Jesus Christ. This guy. Okay, I might need to make sure that this guy's taken out so I can make my point here. Get over here. There we go. I've also got comic book sounds turned on, so I can see the like wham and bang and pow and thwack and all that stuff while I'm beating people up, which I love. I think it's so cool. But as you can see in this fight, this person, when they shoot me, they get a marker above my head, which is white, and then it's red when I need to get a perfect dodge, okay? And if I perfect dodge, they get webbed up, which is what's happening there. Now, there are certain markers with certain enemies where when you do the dodge, you'll be dodging because you'll know an attack's coming, but they'll actually do an attack that you have to parry, which is this button, the L1 button, which doesn't work on guns, clearly. Sorry, buddy. So what that means happens is sometimes I think I'm going to need to dodge, but I end up having to parry. But the problem is you can't parry while you're mid-dodge. And so if I'm midway through one of those sorts of dodges and rolls, I end up just having to take the damage because I can't interrupt it in order to parry. And that's frustrating. A lot of the time in fights, I would find myself knowing that I needed to parry, but already having been mid-dodge and therefore taking damage in what felt like a scenario where I didn't deserve it. I get that the developers maybe just wanted to avoid people parry spamming 24/7 or dodge spamming 24/7. Like they wanted there to be a lose condition in there so that one or the other would be needed, but never only one or the other. But at the same time, I think that it's something that they could improve. There could be some kind of other penalty for having to interrupt a dodge that's not just you eating a massive amount of damage from failing to parry. So in that way, I think that the combat does have room for improvement. I think that also sometimes some of the boss fights really do feel like just do one kind of dodge, one kind of counter of some description, and then hit the boss for like maybe 5 seconds, like one combo, and then just wait to do a dodge or a parry again. Like they feel pretty simplistic in that regard. I think another potential critique of the combat could be that sometimes in those fights, you can pretty much stun lock the boss through entire phases of the fight just by using your equipment. So if I go over here to the top of this thing just to show you guys some of these moves, let's just actually do that here. I have this thing, which when I fire it out, it attracts enemies to it. I have this thing, which when I fire it out, it knocks enemies up into the air. This one, which is a concussion grenade. This one that shoots webs at people, like a group of people. As you can see in the bottom right of my HUD here, I've got multiple of all of these things. And that means that I can just use them back to back to back. And a lot of the time, the bosses can't break out of that. And that means that you end up with some boss fights being a little simplistic. And that's not to say that I didn't die. It's just to say that there was room for that to be harder and more of a challenge that would require a bit more mental effort on my part. I felt like some of the boss fights for me were difficult purely because of the fact that I was impatient and trying to take down the boss in the coolest way possible, as opposed to them being tough because I hadn't cracked the code yet. Like I cracked the code on all the bosses basically instantly. I want to give props to the animation team in the game because I think the animations in this game are literally flawless from beginning to end, start to finish. I think that everything is animated perfectly. There is a huge amount of cutscene stuff in this game that looks so good. It doesn't feel like corny or cheap or anything. It just feels amazing. So on that note, I really think that the animation team and the art team just in general deserve a huge amount of respect and props for what they've succeeded and done. I think also the writing team need a huge amount of credit. But anyway, I'm sort of getting sidetracked. I think overall, the combat feels amazing. It feels very satisfying. Just using all of the different moves in the kit feels great. And there's quite a lot of depth to it as well. There are all sorts of moves that I still, even now having beaten the entire story, haven't unlocked, still need to unlock, and look forward to learning how to include in my skill set. Like, for example, there's certain moves where I can, let's see, I can do things like throw enemies at walls and then slam them into the ground and use them to bounce up and maintain my air combos and things like that. And a lot of that stuff I do every now and then, but it's not like really efficient for me, but it will get there. And it will get there by virtue of the fact that the game gives you the option, doesn't force it on you, allows you to use a simpler sort of skill set while you've got that, but then also has plenty of room for you to really just get fancy with it. And for that reason, I think the combat is phenomenal in this game. It's really, really damn good. Now, another part of the team that I think really deserves a lot of credit is the narrative team. I believe one of the Folkmans worked on this game, whose podcast I've listened to a whole bunch. Love their stuff. But I think that this game has done something really incredible for me, which is it's made me care about Kraven as a villain. Now, I'm someone that, when I was growing up, loved Spider-Man, like absolutely adored Spider-Man. At one point, I had all of the first 100 comics, but I had like a PDF version of it because I was just too poor to afford actual comics back in the day. And so I had this PDF version of the first 100 comics, read through those all, absolutely loved them. And then I would rent out random individual kind of editions, whether it was hardcovers or whether it would just be individual stories from my local public library. And so what it meant is that I got quite a lot of Spider-Man stories, but I didn't have a lot of cohesion between them, and I didn't have a lot of continuity. So something would happen, a certain villain would appear, and I would just never find out what their fate was because I just couldn't get continuous, actual, concurrent series with the stuff that was available at my library. It was really difficult. And through all that, I obviously got familiar with a lot of the enemies that are in the Spider-Man universe. And Kraven was one that I always just thought was lame. I always just thought Kraven was just boring, man. Like, okay, yeah, he's like a hunter dude. That's the end of it. He wears like leopard print pants. I'm good. Like, lame, right? Give me more Green Goblin. Like, that's what I was thinking as a kid. This game somehow has completely flipped the script for me. I think that the way that they've written Kraven here is unbelievable. It's so glorious. I think he's such an awesome villain now. I care so much about him. I want to see more Kraven indefinitely, forever. Like, it was fantastic. And I know that we're going to be getting some more Kraven, I think, in the MCU at some point. So I'm now excited for that in a way that I never was before, because I previously was just like, he's whatever, dude. But in this game, he kicks ass. He is so sick. Now, again, to sort of critique it where it's due, I think, the story doesn't really dig into territory that made me mega emotional, I guess, throughout. There was certainly a couple moments. There's one point where I fully teared up. But overall, the story relies on the sorts of Spider-Man tropes and ideals that you'll be very familiar with. It's all about growing as a person, being a better person. The whole thing of with great power comes great responsibility. Like, that exact vibe of what you expect from a Spider-Man story, like almost overly cornerly wholesome, is exactly what you get here. And that's totally fine, in my opinion. I don't think that that is a real sort of detractor from what people are going to get out of it and whether it's going to mean that they enjoy it less or anything. I really don't think that's going to be the case. I think that it's fine as it is. But I think that, especially if this is going to be a trilogy of games and that third one is going to really wrap up the climax of all of this story, I would like to see that one dig in to some more ideals and themes that were a little bit more new, perhaps, and a little bit more complicated. I think that it's still in quite simple Spider-Man territory. And again, I loved it. I had a fantastic time with the story. I think that the writing is unbelievably good. Like, it never felt corny. Spider-Man feels so apt. It feels apt. He feels like exactly as he should be the entire time, whether it's Peter or Miles or whoever. And it never feels like they're straying out of that real core Spider-Man DNA. And at the same time, they're just building and building and layering and layering. And so, again, narrative team, I think, deserve massive props. And I think the entire team deserve a huge amount of credit for what they were able to achieve with some of the other villains in this game. Not just Kraven, but some of the other stuff that's there. I don't want to say too much because I want to keep this spoiler free. But there are reveals of characters in this game that I never saw coming, but as soon as they happened, I was losing my mind. I was literally frothing at the mouth. Okay, maybe not literally, but I was just so excited to see some of these characters that I've loved over the years be present in the game in such a big way, or just to be teased in the way that they were. So satisfying, and something that I'm so grateful to Insomniac for, because they really were bringing my childhood to life in a massive way. And I say that with no kind of exaggeration or irony or anything. It was such a special experience. You know, an example of this, and something that I think people have obviously seen from the marketing, so I don't think this is a spoiler at all, is the inclusion of Venom, right? Venom as a character is something that obviously, because I think everyone felt this way, I felt as a kid was one of the coolest things just in the world ever. Like, Venom, I wanted to know more about. I wanted to explore more. I wanted to see what Venom's powers would be like. I wanted to see Venom grow. I wanted to see the sort of true extent of what a world would be like if completely overtaken by Venom. Like, I was pro-Venom. I was, like, fighting for Venom rights, man. I was loving my Venom. But it always felt like Venom was really sick in the comics, but wasn't fully realized in the external kind of media. Like, I personally feel like I always wanted more Venom from whether it was the movies or whether it was anything animated or just in general, really. Any other Spider-Man content felt like the Venom content could have been enhanced maybe. And I wanted to see what that Venom world might look like. And this game really beautifully and brilliantly showcases everything I loved about Venom and lets you really sit in that and enjoy it and embrace it. And there are just so many standout moments I can remember from the campaign where like a certain cutscene will happen and I was just sitting there in awe. I was blown away by how cool the things that I was witnessing were. Just like the degree to which I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because it was that awesome. And again, I don't want to spoil anything here. Oh, sorry, Spidey. Into the water with you, bud. Bet the cat doesn't like that. So for that alone, I think that this game is worth playing. Like, even if you're not really interested in anything else, if you're a Venom fan, this game is so Venom-y in a way that nothing else for me has ever been, ever. And that is a worthy reason for the purchase alone, beyond anything else. I also really liked how they developed Miles' character in this game. I think that Peter obviously gets plenty of kind of continuation, but I wasn't exactly sure how they were planning to kind of bring Miles into the fold in this one. Seeing as it's an Amazing Spider-Man game and Miles is Spider-Man, but Peter is sort of still there, right? But I thought that they did it really brilliantly, and it's set up really, really well for future games now, I think. And just generally, the writing of some of that ending and the post-credits scene and all that stuff, again, I'm not going to say anything about it, but I thought it was fantastic. And it's got me really excited for the future of Spider-Man and whatever the sort of Spider-Man 3 experience is going to be like when that does happen. Very, very exciting. I have seen some critiques saying, like, graphically, it doesn't necessarily look quite as cool as Miles Morales did. I think that some people, for example, were citing some of the effects in Miles Morales looking really sick, and in this game, looking just a teeny tiny bit more simplistic. Personally, I don't mind that in the slightest. I think that it is so fine. I think the visual look of this game is actually phenomenal, and I personally wouldn't change it for the world. I don't care about higher resolution. I don't care about anything, really. I want it to look exactly as it does. I think it's phenomenal. One very minor tweak that I could imagine making it feel slightly better is just making sure that the frame rate on everything was absolutely maxed out wherever possible. I think I've had the game on... Oh, I've had it on Fidelity, which targets 30 frames per second and offers the highest image quality and resolution. I thought I had it on Performance. I'm now going to see what it feels like on Performance. Oh. Oh, wow. Oh, it's smooth as hell. Oh my God. Okay. Oh my God, this feels so good. It's so smooth. It's very clearly not like the highest resolution thing you'll ever see, but bro, I don't care. Oh, it's so satisfying. Oh, spin around, do some cool stuff. Yes. Oh, it's so good. I had no idea. I thought I had it on performance mode the entire time. Dude. Yes. Oh my God. Oh, I love it so much, man. I love it so much. It's genuinely, this is like my top 3, maybe top 5 games of all time. It's just so good. I could swing about the city for hours, just doing nothing, just chatting with you guys. Oh, it feels amazing. And like, even in performance mode, not fidelity mode, the city still looks great. Like, sure, I can see a little bit of sort of aliasing going on. I can see that things are a little bit like lower resolution, etc. I don't care, bro. It's just fantastic. And I think that really brings me to the main point that I want to leave you with in this review. And that's that I feel like this game sets out to be the best Spider-Man experience you could imagine. Like, I think that is its primary goal, is just to completely max out the Spider-Man formula. And for me, it did that. And it did that with flying colors. I think it did that in an incredible way. And I think that, yes, there are things that you could critique the game for, such as, yeah, certain aspects of the combat here and there, certain aspects of the story here and there, certain aspects of the world here and there, little bits and pieces, maybe even bugs. I only experienced one crash through my entire playthrough. I'm like fully finished with the story now. I'm level 50. I didn't have any other bugs happen to me, literally 0. So I don't know. All the people saying that the bugs happen all the time didn't impact my experience whatsoever. But even then, I really want to stress, I don't think any of that stuff gets in the way of this feeling like the perfect Spider-Man experience. There wasn't a single thing that happened where I said to myself, this doesn't feel like Spider-Man, or I said to myself, this doesn't feel fun, or this doesn't feel like funny or entertaining or clever or whatever. All of it felt fantastic. And so like, sure, if I accidentally kind of clip through a building, like let's say I, for example, clipped into this building here just by like pressing a certain button and went through it, like, yeah, okay, that'd be a glitch. Would that matter in that instance? No, it wouldn't be in the way of my experience. It wouldn't be interrupting things. I'd still feel the same way about it. And that's why things like, yeah, the story being pretty stereotypical Spider-Man story is not a problem, because that's what I came here for. I came here for stereotypical Spider-Man, and I got stereotypical Spider-Man, but with absolutely flawless execution. And so I think that despite the fact that I am aware this game does have various things that could improve, and I'm aware that there are certain things that people have said about the game, like the visual graphics, for example, maybe not being quite as good as people were enjoying in Miles Morales, for instance. And I can see those things and still feel like this experience, exploring this enormous city, is just perfect for me. It's just it's genuinely such a strong 10 out of 10. I'm not going to sit here and be like, for it to get to 10 from 9.5, they need to just iron out those last bugs. They don't. They could leave the game as is, exactly as is, forevermore, and it would still be a 10 for me. Because on the whole, it has given me a gift, this game. It's said to me, as a child, we know that you felt a certain way about Spider-Man. We know that you were enjoying this IP and this story and this character so much, but had certain things that felt like a bit of a barrier to that enjoyment. Like Venom only had so much screen time, and Kraven kind of felt a little bit lame. And this game has said, we see you, we hear that, we are going to fix all of those things for you and give you the gift that you were praying for every night when you were a kid. And this is it. And it's real. I'm in awe of the fact that it exists, genuinely on all fronts. And again, this is coming from the perspective of someone that's not sponsored to say this by any means. I'm just blown away. I look forward to seeing the game get updates, don't get me wrong. I look forward to seeing the game continue to get patches and to continue to improve over time. I know that Insomniac will do that. I would love for this game to get DLC. I would absolutely love that. If it doesn't, I look forward to just seeing where the story progresses in the next one. I don't know how they're going to make a better game than this. That's going to be a real tall order, but I can't wait to see them try. Spider-Man 2 is a 10 out of 10. And if you don't have a PS5, or you just want to watch me play it and want to watch my live reactions to all this stuff for the first time ever, that playthrough, like I said, is linked in the description. And you can go ahead right now, click on over to it and give it a watch. So thanks everyone. I've been MrRoflWaffles. I just had to vent a little bit about how much I loved this game. And if you liked this style also of me talking about stuff while swinging around, I could kind of extend this format to other games as well. Like if you wanted me to talk about other topics, but while web swinging, I could do that. Let me know. Leave a comment maybe with a suggestion. For now, I'm going to leave it there. Bye for now, folks.